And I want to say a special welcome to Lana from the AIDS Foundation of Chicago. Welcome to Chicago Women Take Action. We're glad to have you. I am so excited to hear from our candidates tonight, and I'm going to introduce to some and present to others. My sister from another mother, Donna Gutman, will introduce and moderate our fabulous panelists tonight. I'm just so excited. I should be used to seeing aldermanic candidates, but not these kind of aldermanic candidates. This is a new day, ladies. Donna, take it away. Oh, I'm sorry. Terry, you had your hand up.
Yeah, we have 3 people. I know Leni, but they're all come up as Angela Clay.
Well, I know. Leni, change your name to change your name. You're
They'll
Angela
change
Clay.
the names.
Yeah, she's got it. She's got
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, all righty. So so here we are, and boy, am I happy to introduce Leni. Whoa!
Yay, Leni!
This is extraordinary. Well, if you don't know her story, you just got to know it right this minute. When Donald Trump got Donald Trump got elected, that was it for her. It was pivotal for her. She went on to co-found Indivisible Illinois. I mean, after she cried for 2 weeks, and then she went ahead and did all that, because I know that she did that. Okay. And then that wasn't enough. She went on to lead Indivisible Illinois 9th District, Andersonville, and Edgewater. And in her spare time, she was a co-director of the Women's March of 2017, also founding the nonpartisan voter registration, Illinois Votes, and serving on the Chamber of Commerce, Andersonville Chamber of Commerce. She has photographed and videos every event, morning, noon, and night, with an amazing talent to do selfies of groups of people. I don't know how she does it, but really important is that she's a member of Chicago Women Take Action right from such a proud member. She has been with us for a long time. And Leni, we can't wait to ride along with you. Okay. So, and Betty, you want to introduce Angela, and then we'll start with the questions? Wait, you're muted, Betty.
You're introducing the candidates. I already did my little Easter speeches.
Oh, well, I'm a little stuck here on Angela because I didn't get that one ready. So we're going to let Angela introduce herself for 1 second here. Okay, Angela?
Angela's a rock star. She can introduce
I know she is.
She's a real rock star.
Betty hasn't stopped telling me.
I nominated her for an award from IVI, and she's getting an award at the IVI dinner.
Yeah. All right, Angela, just, give us a little bio here of something that's going to really make us more proud than we already are of you.
Just excited to be here, everyone. My name is Angela Clay. She, her, mama pronouns are great for me. I am the newly elected Alderwoman of the 46th Ward. That includes Uptown, Lakeview, Buena Park. I am a product of this beautiful ward. My family has actually lived in this community for over 80 years. Ooh. I am a 4th generation. I just became a mom at the height of COVID. Shout out to all the parents on this call. And I'm raising a 5th generation. So I literally am just a culmination of everything that this ward stands on: social justice, affordable housing, good people. I like to say the 46th Ward is home to great neighbors who show up for each other. And we are going through a very tumultuous time with gentrification, and our communities really not meeting all of the needs of all of our neighbors. And so I ran 4 years ago. I had no campaign experience, no knowledge of how any of this ran. And we came within 300 votes of actually making the runoff with no money, no office, no staff. And so we could not step away from the table, especially after COVID. We had to rise to the occasion for our neighbors. And the work continued. So we came back stronger than ever, built an amazing coalition of some new neighbors, old neighbors, and everywhere in between, to come out with a victory of the first African-American, person of color, Indigenous woman to represent one of the most diverse wards in the city, and also the youngest female. So I am so excited to
Whoa, I
be
could never have said all that. So yeah, so thank you for that. And so there's, first I want to thank Deb Rosenberg for really canoodling me with some great questions to put to this panel. So hats off to you, Deb, because I changed a lot of things around after I heard from you. So that's how we work. We're very collaborative. So we're going to start this way and you'll each get a turn at this. We now have a progressive mayor in Chicago and many progressives in the city council. So we think there's opportunities for change that we haven't had in the past. In this new context, I'm going to ask each of you, how do you see yourself as an alder person? What do you see as the opportunities? And I think that we can open up with what do you see the opportunities are in this new progressive era of the Chicago City Council. So Leni, let's start with you.
Well, along with Angela and also our new mayor, we are all making history here. So I am the first person of color to be elected to the 48th ward, the first queer person, the first Filipina to sit in Chicago City Council. And it's important to note these things because when you're talking about opportunities and potential collaborations, we're also talking about what are we bringing to the table. And one thing that I bring are all the things that I am. I am a woman and I am a mother as well. I'm a product of our public schools. I went to Buckingham Elementary when I was very young. I am a small business owner and an entrepreneur. And that kind of spirit is really needed now, especially as we're still trying to get past COVID. You know, my youngest graduated from high school this weekend from Jones College Prep. And my oldest is going to graduate from Northwestern next week. And we're just thinking about the last 4 years and their experience. They went in as freshmen and then they had to leave. And then their second year was all virtual, right? And then the next year was social distanced. And then the next year, what is normal? You know, what is normal right now? So the opportunity is so ripe for us to think outside of the box. And especially women and women who have a feminist lens are bringing to the table the idea that if we work together and if we collaborate, there is so much more that we can do. If we bring a spirit of respect, and especially when we all share values, making sure that everybody has what they need, especially housing, healthcare, especially mental health supports. Mental health is healthcare. Then we will all be safer. We will all benefit. And if we think about taking care of those who are on the margins, who are not normally represented, starting with women, starting with Black siblings, brown colored people like me, like Filipinos, like Asian Americans, who, for the first time in city council, we have 2 Asian Americans in city council. We have doubled our numbers. So we're thinking about creating an Asian American caucus. It's very exciting. But those are the opportunities that I see. And the reason why it's so important is because there's so many things that are critical right now that we need to do. And we can do so much when we work together.
Great. Angela?
Yeah,
Pretty
so
much the same question for you. You're a progressive woman. What's the opportunities here?
oh man, so many. I think I'm really looking forward to using our platform. And I say our because I think that's the opportunity that we have here is building bridges. The city makes you feel like you are very disconnected from your neighbors. In reality, we all face the same things, right? And so I really want to bring lived experiences together with all parts of the ward and all parts of the city of Chicago to really say, hey, we all deserve access to quality housing, no matter what that is or what the affordability around that looks like. We all deserve safe communities to walk through. We deserve resources that we don't have to leave our parts of the city, to access. I am very much so rooted in the community that got me here. And I'm very much so looking forward to bringing that community with me all throughout this journey. I feel like one of the barriers that we had to break down in this space is we had to have people trust us again. We had to have people really say, I trust you to go in there and get the job done and not just be another replacement of the powers that be, right? And so with that trust comes the responsibility of going in there and saying, hey guys, this is how things are voted on. Hey guys, these are the channels that we need to be. I'm an organizer at heart, right? So I try to use every opportunity as a form of organizing and knowledge sharing, not getting into this seat and then leaving the community behind that got us here. I really want to make sure that we are transparent. And I want to make sure that our young people have a seat at the table. I just turned 32 at the end of March. I'm not a young whippersnapper anymore, even though I still think I'm with the crowd. But I do think that when we are talking about, progressive movements, the young people are at the front of that. And it takes us learning from generations who've been here before us and saying, okay, let me learn what you did so that I can continue to carry that torch. And that's something that I'm extremely looking forward to, is learning from my elders and bringing the energy of our young people to get things done. So that's what I think I bring.
Well, that's fantastic. I was just reading about, aldermen of the city, and they compared it to fiefdoms, that the city is made of fiefdoms, and they were pretty much everybody was doing the thing themselves. And as you said, there's power in the pack. There's power in the coalitions. There's power for you young progressive women to work together, because as we know, women know how to build community. And unlike those other guys who kind of build up themselves. So, these are great. We're very excited because we're going to talk about down the road here how we all work together, how we can help you and you what you need from us at Chicago Women Take Action. Because I sent you both the draft agendas. If you had a chance to see it or not, I'm not sure, but we have a lot of things that we want to accomplish to make Chicago a great city. And we've been here for 10 years, a little bit more. And we're going to talk about another issue right now. And I'll start again with Leni. And there's a couple of issues on everybody's mind, particularly, and that is public safety and affordable housing. I mean, those are really key issues. Can you talk about some like immediate goals and longer goals for your ward that you see? And maybe that's a reflection of Angela's ward as well. But, every ward has its own complexion and it has its own demographic. So how do you see it, Leni, in your ward?
Yeah, so I'm in the 48th ward, which is Edgewater and parts of Andersonville and Asian Argyle and Uptown. And we also are represented by two police districts, the 20th and the 24th. So south of Thorndale is the 20th and north is the 24th. And I think that when we're talking about public safety, I was always thinking about if everybody had what they needed, we would all be safer. So for instance, today, we had an interesting meeting at City Hall talking with the Department of Planning and Development and the Department of Housing, giving us a brief of what they do and how they do it and how they coordinate together. And one speaker talked about all the great things that are happening in Inglewood. And more than once, he prefaced by saying, this has nothing to do with your ward, but I just wanted to let you know what was going on down here. And I almost started to cry because really this is it. This is really it. Because if we are all taking care of those parts of our great city that have been disinvested forever, for hundreds of years, really, from the beginning of time, then we would all be doing better. We are a manifestation, this whole city, the way that we are divided because of racist federal policy that we helped continue at the municipal level in our practices and our policies and redlining and our policing. And so there's so much that we have to dismantle. But in the 48th ward, when we're talking about public safety, we're talking about the same things. If everybody has what they need, then we all be safer. And that includes affordable housing, but it's not just to say it, but we actually have to fund it. So passing ordinances like Bring Chicago Home, which would create a permanent revenue stream so that we can not only have great ideas, but also fund the ideas. And then also making sure that we are taking care of our health, including, because far too often police are called when somebody has a mental crisis on the streets or in homes, or they're called for things that they cannot really solve, like domestic disputes. You know, police are helpful in some ways, but they are not the answer. So when we're talking about somebody who's in mental crisis, we need to think about alternatives to policing. And we are doing that through our CARES pilot, but truly we need something like treatment, not trauma, which would really truly help to make sure that we have the mental health facilities that we need across the city of Chicago, but also send alternates instead of police, social workers and those trained in de-escalation. And then beyond that, in terms of public safety, we need leadership. And so we are looking forward to a new superintendent who can have a citywide strategy, because it can't just be one alderperson or one ward that's going to fix what is broken, especially what our systems are the way that they are right now. We have to be, again, working together and working with the new police district councils, of whom we all elected. We have 3 in each police district, and so my ward has 6. So I look forward to working with the police district councils, with our police department, with our schools, with our students, with every constituent in the ward, and also leadership across the city to create a strategy that creates a safer Chicago for everybody.
I got muted. I didn't know how. I don't know how that happened. Everybody, I mean, Sherry, you want to unmute everybody? I don't know what just happened. We all seem to be muted at one time. Can anybody hear me? Oh, Lenny, you can hear me. Okay. So I'm not sure why everything got muted. Oh, you can hear me, Tanya. Good. That was a nice thumb up. Thank you. And I don't know where Angela went. She's here.
Okay, there we go. Whew, I've been I'm pressing the mute button like every second.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. No. Somebody. Somehow everybody got muted at one time simultaneously. Okay. So Angela, go ahead. You know.
Yeah. So public safety for me is multifaceted, and I like to reorganize how we say public safety. I like to use community safety, right? Because when we say public safety, it makes it seem like it's outside of ourselves when it really is encompassing all of us. And so I like to say community safety because it really it puts into perspective, what does a community need to keep each other safe? And at the core of that, it's just good neighbors, right? I want to make sure that our neighbors are getting to know each other outside of some of the chaotic instances, which we do get to know each other. Like, I really want to have a slew of block parties, a good, robust community day where we have an amazing resource. I don't know if you all know it, but it's a Facebook group that's like a free pick up whatever you need. People always have things on there that they're giving away, right? And I want to do something like that on like a Saturday where people can bring like a huge giant garage sale almost, but just free, to get to know your neighbors, to come outside, to interact with them. COVID, really put that wall up between our neighbors where we kind of distanced ourselves and just made it seem like you stay on your side of the street, I stay on mine. And so we need to come back together so that we can get to know our neighbors at the core, so that when we walk past each other, when we are in the streets, we get to see each other. And if there's something wrong, we can immediately identify that. Two, I want to make sure that we are building great relationships with our police officers, because they really are our first line of defense when there is an emergency. And we need to know them outside of that response as well. I want to make sure that our young people have relationships with our police officers. One of the beauties that I had growing up here in Uptown specifically is I had a very good relationship with our beat cop, where he would get out of his police vehicle, where he would engage with young people on the playground, where he would actually get to know our parents, our grandparents, our guardians, right? And so if he saw something, he would be like, hey, it's almost curfew, we need to get home now. That respect that we had was something that really kept a lot of young people safe. And I want to bring that back. I want to make sure that we are building partnerships with our business owners in this ward so that we can hire our young people within this ward. I think it's very crucial that when we are thinking about public safety, what leads people down a pathway that could potentially be harmful for the entire community. And we know that when people don't have access to a living wage, when they don't have access to quality health care, when they don't have access to the basic necessities like food and shelter, that they are in survival mode, right? And so how do we as a city, knowing all of this, say, I'm going to be deliberate about making sure that I have quality community healthcare centers that are open, and then also having pop-ups, right? I'm already in conversations with many of our community healthcare centers about doing pop-ups for our neighbors who may be living in some of our tent situations, right? So that they don't have to necessarily go into a facility. We can bring it to them. I'm also in conversation about making sure that we have pop-ups around back to school, right? I want to alleviate some of the pressures, especially now that I'm a mom and I know how much time and stress goes into setting up all of these things for your children. I want to alleviate some of that stress. I also want to make sure that we have safe spaces for our young people and our elders. There's not a lot of places for people to go to just be a part of community safely. And I want to make sure that we're building that inclusivity. I really think that we have an opportunity here in the 46th Ward to be forward thinking in how we are using our space to build community and safety. And then obviously hand in hand with that is affordable housing. I'm a product of affordable housing. I lived in affordable housing 27 out of the 32 years of my life. I was the youngest president of a 52-year-old non-for-profit called Voice of the People here in Uptown, protecting and providing affordable housing to neighbors here in the ward. And that's something that I'm going to be adamant about when we are building new developments, is making sure that we are including affordability in every aspect, because that is how we get the beautiful communities that we have, like Andersonville, Uptown, and Buena Park.
Well, that's great. And that just kind of makes me think, and we're going to get some questions going in the chat while I talk about that. So if anyone has any specific questions, maybe you want to put it in the chat now. But I was thinking that, these are great, they're lofty and I think attainable goals that you have in mind. First of all, you're both rock stars, so I think that you can make a lot of noise and make that motion come to fruition. I think maybe you should be sending us what we can do for you by just staying in touch with Chicago Women Take Action. And, you know, we can share a lot of your, you know, some of your missions that you're doing. Like if you're creating better safe spaces, we love to talk about that because we have a great committee. Dee will tell you about public safety and community safety. And so I think this is something that we can ask of you to reach to us to say, hey, in the 48th or the 46th, we're working on this and we're glad to be an evangelist for what you're doing so that it's not just on this Zoom call, but it gets to we have a pretty large database of people and we have newsletters and a lot of good stuff going on. So I'm hoping that you will reach out to us with what are you looking for? You know, I mean, I know there's events that happen that I can remember with being Leni, getting voters to vote everywhere at every event possible, registering voters everywhere on every street corner, everything, you know, fearlessly, you know, just accosting them and having them take out their mobile phones so that they could register to vote. And that's around the corner. So, you know, we're really good at doing this. We're very, very good at doing this. So let me see if I see something. Oh, and here's Deb Rosenberg's got a question. Thank you, Deb, for all your great questions that you have. So go ahead. I'm going to unmute yourself, Deb Rosenberg, so you can ask this question. Everybody should know Deb Rosenberg, by the way, if you don't. Okay, just say. All right. So Deb, go ahead.
And I'm a proud constituent of Alderwoman Clay. So
Okay.
in the 46th ward. So oh, first I do have a question, but I wanted to say Leni started this. I just heard this kind of reframing about public safety that I think is really important. Leni started talking about we're really only safe when our needs are met, when people's needs are met. And then to me, the other half of that is the way I heard it said was, and that policing is used when we're already not safe. And I think making that distinction is really critical. Safety comes from meeting our needs and having everyone's needs met. Anyway, that's just me. My question actually is, I've heard this term, and I assume others have too, co-governance. And as someone pointed out to me, well, actually, we've always had co-governance, not because the electeds typically have been co-governing with corporations. Now it's being used, I think, so both of you can tell me if I'm right or wrong about this, about this administration, the Johnson administration, and I assume those of you who are the progressives in city council, co-governance is about governing with the movement, with the people, I think that's the way it's being used. So I would just be interested in hearing from you what it does mean to you and how you actually see that really fine idea playing out, like how it really seems to me to be really flipping the way we've all thought about government in a good way. And I would just like to hear each of you talk about that a little bit.
And
Leni, you want to start it?
Sorry.
Oh, Angela, go ahead. Angela, go ahead. Jump in.
Yeah, no. So co-governance for me, Ms. Deb, looks like working with the organizations who know exactly what they are talking about. In my instance, right, when we are thinking outside of the box at ordinances that may have direct repercussions to our neighbors who are LGBTQ+, I am going to my advocates directly that are working, that are my siblings in this space. I don't want to make that decision wholeheartedly at all. And so what my office has started to do, not just with the organizations that we know closely and that worked night and day to get us here. We are reaching out to other organizations who we may not have had cross paths with that do this work, and setting up quarterly meetings with them and sitting down and saying, this is what's coming down the pipeline. These are the things that we have on our list. Can you help us and give us feedback? Because what I do not want to do, Ms. Deb, is recreate the wheel and then I'm missing spokes, right? Because it doesn't suit us to do it halfway. It really suits us to sit down with the people who are most impacted by the things that we are trying to change, to make sure that it happens. Because I'm pretty sure we've all seen legislation or policies that on the surface looked very well, but then when it was implemented, just tore a lot of more, it caused more damage. And I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that we are being intentional about working with partners who are impacted by this directly, who do this work day in and day out, and bringing them to the table and saying, hey, let's have a clear line of communication. I will show you all the things that are coming down the pipeline, ward wise and on a city level wise, to just help us talk through some of the nuances and making sure that we are actually hitting our goal on the head.
Leni?
And I will echo all that Angela is talking about in terms of movement. And I think about this idea of co-governance being a revolutionary thing, when truly it should be the way that we should govern all along. I can't imagine doing this work in any other way. You know, thinking about just even in the last city council meeting, when we were voting on the $51 million for the new arrivals and hearing the public comments, it really heartened me to know that groups that we have been working with, including the Illinois Coalition for Refugee and Immigrant Rights, were there. The HANA Center was there. The Asian Americans Advancing Justice were there. I mean, these are groups that have been on the ground talking to each other, working very hard to figure out what is needed right now in this moment in city council. And they are telling us what they want and what they need and what we need. And that includes all the basic necessities. First, it starts with housing. Everyone deserves shelter and a home, a place where they can sleep that's safe, that they can lock their door at night, and then to get up and go about their day in the morning. This is the bare minimum that we all need. Beyond that, we need healthcare and we need mental health supports, and that way we will all be much safer. We need to pass treatment, not trauma, and we need to pass the Peace Book Ordinance when we're talking about giving youth what they need, including supports such as dismantling the gang database. I mean, these are things that we're all talking about, and this is co-governance, listening to the voices on the ground. I mean, this is the reason why we passed the Stefan Watts Act in Illinois, and the reason why that was brought to the municipal level, because we want alternatives to policing. And that kind of law was brought up to us through access living, through the young people who are working in that way. And what do we need? We need to listen to the youth. We sometimes point to them and say that they are the problem, when truly they have the answers. So we need to do that more and more as elected officials, as parents, as educators, as community, and listen to them so that we can have a better life for all of us. And that includes not only public safety, but in terms of climate action, in terms of education and what we need, in terms of transit, in terms of what we need as a working class. So those are just things. And then in terms of co-governance in this administration, I'm heartened again, because look, I was one of those grassroots groups that worked very hard for our last mayor to get her in office. Truly, it took me and our group a year and a half to get a meeting with her. You know, I think that elected officials should be accessible by the people who helped put them in office, because in that way, you are more easy to be held accountable for the things that you say. And that's the way good governance should be. There should be balance, and there should be feedback, and there should be connections to those that you represent.
Thank you, Lenny. We could have a whole meeting here for Chicago Women Take Action of our disappointment of the last mayor, who we supported heartily, and all the things that she didn't do that she was going to. So she was not really into co-governance whatsoever. So kudos to you. Now, Ori, who is a criminal justice maven, she's a bachelor's, master's, and attorney, and she has a question about police accountability. So Ori, you got the table.
Thank you, dear. Well, I want to applaud both these alderwomen, and especially my alderwoman, Leni. But I think, Angela, what you've said is amazing. And I want to go touch base on that, because you're young, 32, but it sounds like what you experienced with the police was what, when I was on the police board under Harold Washington and Fred Rice, the first African-American police superintendent, was called community policing, and where the police were not only encouraged, but it was part of their job description that they engage in a favorable way. They didn't use positive back then, because a favorable way with the community. And what Fred Rice said then, and I think it's even more essential now, that you cannot serve and protect a community that does not trust and respect you, and vice versa. And so my question to both these wonderful alderwomen, who I live close to one ward and then the other one, what do you think about approaching, and it's structural, and I'm also an attorney, so forgive the structure of this, the issue of qualified immunity. Qualified immunity is a militaristic benefit that police across this country have, which means they cannot be held accountable for, and you can see it with McQuan McDonald. I mean, all of these things are structurally connected to qualified immunity, which Fred Rice, quite frankly, knew, and that's why FOP wanted to sue him every time he breathed, and Harold Washington. But I think, and again, I don't think Mayor Johnson will be afraid to look at it, and it can't be done alone. That's not, clearly the city of Chicago can't do it alone. But, and I think JB, in fact, I know some people that this governor would be willing to. Can we raise the bar in the discussion of police accountability to structurally looking at the fact that they are the only non-militaristic part of our city, state, country that has a militaristic protection? And as long as that is the case, there is not going to be a structure. When we talk about young people, you were a baby with Fred, like, that's how long ago this was. And we are still structurally trying to work with, to have a police officer who is a member of Proud Boys on the police force, the insanity of that. And then asking young people, particularly young people of color, and to trust them. How do you, or if you think you can begin to look, and again, I don't expect you to solve it, because it ain't been solved in my many years, but at least put it on the table like it was done back then. Thank you.
One thing I will say is that Chicago has probably the oldest federal consent decree, right? It just keeps getting kicked down the road. And who is responsible for that oversight? That is city council. That is on us to implement that consent decree. So that is in there, addressing qualified immunity for sure. And that I'm excited. You know what? I'm excited to work on this with you, Ori. Anyway, you are the expert in this. And that's really what it is. We all have to work.
I'm not an expert, because obviously it didn't go through. So I can tell you, I can give you lessons learned, what didn't work. Now it's up to you to figure out what will work. But again, when Fred Rice tried this, and Harold tried it really with honesty, and some of the police force. I can go, but Renard Robinson, I'm old, honey. I can go back to the African American Police League when they had the first women of any color actually got to get in a car and drive in communities rather than sit in an office. But structurally, the things that Harold and Mayor Washington and Fred Rice tried to structurally address, are still, have not been done. And I think, and Angela, you're young, so you can do, you got many more years to do it. We've at least got to put them back on the table to acknowledge it. Because as long as it's not on the table, again, like the consent decree, it never gets thought about. And I think this is the time. We've got a wonderful city council, one of the most diverse in the country. It is time to put this back on the table and have younger people and us older people know the responsibilities we have for demanding police accountability. Because I agree with you. I mean, again, Renard Robinson and Harold, I mean, the African-American police, I love them guys, but I also love the Latino piece. I mean, and there's, but we've got to hold every police officer accountable, no matter the gender, no matter the color, no matter what. And in order to do that, it has to be structural.
Oh my
always
God.
love.
Yeah,
Oh my
I mean,
God.
You can.
no, I totally, I agree with you, but also I will say this, the policing and the carceral system is a racist institution. You're not going to be able to like solve racism by solving and fixing the police in that way. But I will say this, what I am heartened by, firstly, yes, we need to end qualified immunity, and that is something that I would like to work on with you on, and fulfilling the consent decree. And then beyond that, working with the new community police district councils and also the new superintendent about how they actually structure and deploy police. What is truly community policing in that, and how do we define that through their practice? Because right now I don't understand it, and somebody needs to explain it to me, because the way that it is right now does not make sense. How they deploy the police with the number of people that they have on staff, with the funds that they have, with the amount of the 30% that goes from our general funds into policing, we can't throw more money into something that is not working. So what are we doing with those funds? And it comes to personnel, like where are those people, where are they, and what do they do? And is it really keeping us safe? Do we need actual officers doing the jobs that they're doing? Looking at their job description, finding out what they don't need to do anymore. These are who they don't need to serve anymore, including those who have mental health crises on the streets. That's going to keep us safer. But yes, towards police accountability, we have so many alphabet soups of different accountability groups, right? You could probably name all of them, or maybe you sat on many of those boards, in fact. So it's not just about talk. We're tired of talk. We want action.
Yeah, and I would
All
just
right.
back
Now,
off one.
Go ahead, Angela. I'm sorry.
Statement, Ms. Ori, because I think what you mentioned is something that we have the possibility of doing, which is taking something that is really necessary and putting it back on the table, because we've all gotten frustrated when things don't go through, when they don't pass, when they're not moved, when they don't come to fruition, and then we just put it back on the bookshelf. But some of those things are still needed to this day. And I think that is going to be very crucial, again, with learning from our elders about that knowledge sharing. What worked? What didn't work? Are we in a new day and age, especially with this new city council, especially with this new mayor, especially with a new superintendent to have more footing, leeway, and oomph to actually bringing it to fruition this time?
So here's a question which can be wrapped into a lot of things, because we are Chicago Women Take Action, and we're really big. We are strong believers in the power of women and what they can accomplish through collaboration and coalition. And What are, this question is like, let me see, I have a question about police accountability. Oh, you said that, but the power of women in our city government, that was from Carol Levine. The power of, Carol, do you want to be more specific on that question? Exactly what you meant by the power of women? I'm all for it.
Well, I'm not as up on where I didn't get a chance to check how many committees are chaired by women, but we also know that there may be too many committees as a total just to begin with. But also, what's your sense? You're new, you haven't been there a long time, but you know, and everybody is you know, loving each other and respecting each other and all of that right now. Where do you think things will go, you know, 6 months from now? And are you, as women and as new women in city council, expecting to maintain that same camaraderie, relationships, or do you think your status as women is going to be a plus, a minus, or are you going to have to fight for things?
Oh, Lenny, are we gonna have to put our gloves on? Because I just took mines off. We both went through a runoff. Lord, we do not need another rendition of that. Look, Miss Carol, it would be in our wildest dreams to say that there aren't going to be times that the entire city is going to have to make some tough decisions. And we saw that 2 weeks into our new role, right? Just last week, having to really sit down and make a tough decision when it came to our new neighbors arriving. Because yes, at the core of that is a lot of what are we doing for ourselves, right? How are we taking care of our own neighbors that have already been disadvantaged historically for decades? And also, how do we balance and stand on, we are a sanctuary city in this country, right? I am looking forward to this new class of older people that we come in with, really honestly setting the tone and saying, no matter what, we are here for everyone. You know, we've gone through trainings in the last month where we've gotten to know each other on a deeper level outside of politics and understand, okay, that's maybe why you think that way. Oh, okay, I can see that route. And I think that that's something that we want to continue to do, is get to know each other on a deeper level than just, hey, I see you at city council, or I might see you at a committee meeting, really understanding where people are coming from. And then at the end of the day, not leaving with this tit for tat that we see going back and forth in government. You did this to me, or you didn't vote the way that I didn't want to, so I'm going to do something. Enough is enough, because at the end of the day, you have to understand that you are there solely off of the strength of your constituents, and you have to make the best interest for them. We are representing, my ward is over 50,000 people, whether they voted or not, right? And so we have to, at the core, understand that we have to work together, because much like we see right now with our new neighbors coming, every last one of our wards are being impacted by it. Every last one of our police precincts are being impacted by it. We have no time to sit here, point fingers, you know, scream and shout and throw hissy fits at each other. And we have a job to do. And that means showing up in hard decisions, making tough choices, and making sure that we are making them with our neighbors' best interest at heart. So I think that the new incoming chapter of city council is going to be unearthing, you know, shaking some things up and how city council has done it in the past, and really bringing that empathy and bringing that relationships and community with them. Because it doesn't work for us to all be on the opposite side of the board when we're literally a player, an individual player on the same team. So how can we work together? How can we build coalitions across this entire city? Because we really are a lot more similar than we are alike. So I think we've got a good show. What you think, Leni?
I mean, I'm totally with you. And also I think that not only are we excited, but we are practical. We know that we need to get 26 votes for anything to pass. And just like during the election, when we were campaigning, we knew that there were some people who will definitely not be with us. So do we want to spend time trying to convince them to come on over when we knew that they were not going to be with us? And we knew that there were people who are definitely going to be with us. So do we need to spend time making sure that they are with us? No, they're already with us. We know that the fight, when we're talking about a fight, we're talking about the fight of the messy middle. And I'm excited to get into the messy middle because those are the folks that might not know which way to go. And that's where relationships matter. So that's where knowing that you're bringing your authentic self and trusting that other person is doing the same, and understanding that if you're going through a feminist lens, especially women who we're great connectors, we want to do that. So let's continue to do that, especially for things that really are so important to everybody right now, including housing for not just those that are living in the tents, but for these new arrivals. So that's where the fight is. It's getting to the vote. And that's where we are practical, and that's where we need your help, because a lot of these things are going to be influenced by public pressure and by public influence and by social media, and your networks are going to be more essential than ever.
Great. Well, we are looking forward to hearing from you, because many of our goals are the same. As you know, in our draft agenda, it's everything that you ladies stood on a platform for. So here's my question to you. You're in city council now and you get to propose some bills. What are your top two, Angela? What are your top two? You get two. This is
two.
Oh, I'm sure you got 50. But all right, give me your top three then. Your
No.
top
They haven't even like formed yet, Miss Donna. So, this is just me thinking very lofty.
Good.
Wholeheartedly will be supporting and doing my damnedest to get treatment not trauma passed and actually come into fruition. I am very excited to be on the Workforce and Development Committee to think outside the box about how we are getting in front of our young people when it comes to trades. I'm very ecstatic to show our young people that there are so many more avenues that you could be going down than the typical, you got to go to college, you got to graduate, and we have so many more opportunities for our young people to thrive and really show us what they're working with. And then I want to make sure that we are, I don't know, it's something really education rich. Like, I really want to make sure that we have sustainable community school villages. If you are not familiar with that, a sustainable community school is basically the hub of the community, like every public school is. In that hub, you will find housing resources, you will find access to job opportunities, you will find access if you are a family that is facing eviction or homelessness, and a lawyer who can walk you through this process. If you are a family that is experiencing some sort of legal issues around documentation or your status, like all of that is going to be housed out of the school that your baby goes to without you having to maneuver these alleyways by yourself. And that's something that we have here at my former high school, Uplift Community High School. It has been extremely beneficial because what we get to do is we get to work within our community with our community partners. And then also I have a pipeline for our children to go from preschool, kindergarten, daycare, all the way up to post-secondary education through Truman College, all within walking distance, of each other. So I really want to make sure that we have that sustainable community school village on a very broader scale, because it has worked tremendously in our ward.
Wow, that's amazing. We definitely want to hear more about that down the road here. So please, that's a great model, a great model. Lenny, you get a couple of them out there, right?
Well, yeah, the ones that I mentioned, including the Peace Book ordinance, I really
Right.
want that to happen. But, one thing that I think about, because I did not, 10 months ago, think that I was going to run for office because of the number of dollars they told me I had to raise. They said, you have to raise $250,000. I said, you're crazy. But truly, I almost raised $250,000. And it was not easy because I didn't have the support of the, establishment Democrats or the socialist groups or, really big institutions like that. All of my money was grassroots. But, the thing about it is that keeps people out from running when you have that barrier that you have to raise that money. So I would support anything to do with campaign finance reform for sure. And I know that Matt Martin is leading that charge, and so I will follow him towards that end. But, in terms of how we can save money in election time too, we have to pass ranked choice voting so that we could avoid runoffs, because that was a whole nother round of money that I had to raise and in a shorter period of time. But with ranked choice voting, we wouldn't have to do that. Wouldn't that be great? We would save millions of dollars. So let's do that.
Makes sense. It totally makes sense. I mean, it's an egregious amount of money that is spent on campaigning. There's great stories because I'm a big believer that cream rises. Like you see the mayor of Los Angeles, that woman, who would have thought that? She had, she went up against a billionaire who had unlimited resources, and she had, maybe if she spent 100 million or less, or 80 or 60, and he was spending $1 billion, and she won because she's a great woman. Okay. All right, we'll go there. She's a great woman. So, all right. I think we've addressed most of the questions in the chat, and I think our timing is 7 p.m. Is that right, ladies? Are we a 7 p.m. group? Is that when we end? Yeah, okay. I got a couple. I want to say hello to Jackie Grimshaw, who seems to be on this call. I see her. Jackie, we're all thinking about you, our fearless leader. She got knocked down in the first round here. So
yeah, but I bounce up again. But you cannot.
I know.
keep
Well,
me
here,
down.
there's her voice. Well, good. It's so nice to see her.
Welcome back, Jackie.
Welcome, Jackie. We are totally excited to see you back again. And any last words, anybody? Or God, you girls are great. I want to say one other thing. We invited 6 progressive women, newly elected city councils, and you 2 showed up. So just so you know, 90% of success is showing up. There you go.
I want to say that, when 2016 happened, devastation, but you all were one of the first groups that I found. You've been my political home for many years, and you as a resource, you as a network, you as a sounding board, you as mobilizers to get people out to vote, to be engaged. I mean, that is your strength. You, the organizers of forums, you, the organizers of coalitions. So I thank you so much for your work and all the things that you want to do to lift up women who want to be involved in grassroots and politics in Chicago. We are truly so lucky in the city to have a group like this, so strong and engaged. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Lenny. Thank you. Thank you. You've been a bedrock for us. So thank you so much. And Angela, I hope you get to know us really well.
Oh yeah, no, you're mine now. We're
yeah,
locked
yeah,
and
you gotta
loaded.
be another sister here.
Yes, and,
Another
you know,
sister in the
not to-
sisterhood. Yeah, this is more than the yeah sisterhood. This is a
Yes,
lot of
no.
really extraordinary women with so much talent and passion and purpose. And you know, this is a great way to resource things and to make sure that we're going to make this the best years ever in the city council. So we thank you all so
Thank you
much
so
for a
much.
wonderful evening. And we look forward to your next steps. Thank you all, ladies. Thank
Okay,
everybody here. Go
Donna,
ahead,
let's see if